Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar on Namibia and Cape Town for our trip in 2025. I'd like to introduce our destination specialist, Daniel Adame. He has been back and forth to Africa on many trips, and he was just telling me he's heading again to Cape Town. So welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Leslie. Yeah, so just a couple of facts about me. I have been traveling to Africa back and forth for the past 8 years, 9 years now. I go to Africa about twice a year. Currently, I'm working with Kensington Tours, and I've been here for 5 years doing luxury trips to Africa. And so this year, as Leslie mentioned, I'm going to go in September and then maybe again in November. We're still working on that. But this is what I do. My passion is planning trips for the people that I work with. And Leslie approached me a while back and mentioned that she was looking to plan a little group trip to Namibia. And we started chatting about Namibia because I was there in 2020 during the pandemic. I'm actually quite proud to say that I was one of the first people to go to the country, and during the pandemic at the peak of it, and I loved it. I fell in love with Namibia. Really fascinating country, and so we started talking, and we're planning this trip. In addition to Namibia, we were looking at other destinations because, Southern Africa is so big and there's so much to see and so much to do. And if you're going all the way over there, it makes sense to try to include as much as possible. So we briefly talked about Victoria Falls, but I explained to Leslie that Victoria Falls, at the time of the year that we're hoping to do this, doesn't really work because the falls are, the flow varies depending on the time of the year. And sometimes the falls are really big and sometimes they're really low. And in November, it just doesn't make sense to go there. But what would be a great thing to do would be to go into Cape Town. And that solves several issues. One of them is that Namibia isn't very friendly with many airlines. So getting to Namibia logistically is a challenge, but it's very easy to get there if you're in Cape Town. So Cape Town being a world-class destination and one of the iconic places in, honestly, not just Africa, but the whole world, I told Leslie it would be good to have people fly into Cape Town, spend a few days there. And that helps you acclimate to the different continent, the different country, the food, the time difference, jet lag after traveling from the States. There are direct flights into Cape Town with Delta and United. So that makes it a lot easier. And then you could spend a couple of days there and then fly to Namibia. And that's a very easy 2-hour flight. Namibia, we'll go through the details, but you'll do your safari there. And then at the end of the trip, you can decide to either fly back to Cape Town to go home or fly to Johannesburg to go home. And from Johannesburg and Cape Town, you can get international flights with Delta, United, but also British Airways goes, KLM goes. There's so many different airlines. So that's pretty much what we're working on. Cape Town for a couple of nights and then the safari in Namibia. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to interrupt me and ask. I have no problem with that. But for now, I'm just going to show you. And you are seeing my screen, right? Let's see. Perfect. So I'm just going to show you the trip that we're working on. And I have here 6 people, but that doesn't, we're trying to keep it to a couple of people, and I'll explain why, but honestly, we could do more if needed. And we're thinking 12 days for the whole start to end in Africa, plus travel time to get there and back. And keep in mind that if you're coming from the eastern states, it takes about a day to get to Africa. So you have to add a day on the front end and on the back end. But 12 days in the continent. And Leslie, I'm not sure if you've shared this before with them, but we can send it to them again after the webinar. And here it just details the different things that we have included, a little trip summary for you to read. But I just wanted to go through the day-by-day breakdown to give you an idea of what you'll be doing while you're in Africa. And if you're looking at our itinerary, you'll see that the first little part details very briefly what you're doing each day and the hotel that you're staying at. And then below, like you can just go through it the whole 12 days. And then here's a map that shows you what we'll be doing. And you can see that this is the southern part of Africa, and you're flying into Cape Town, which is here, doing a couple of days. And then from there, hopping over to Namibia, where we're doing I like to call it an overland expedition in our safari vehicles and seeing the different sites. And then after Namibia, you can fly back to, you can go to Johannesburg to go back home or back to Cape Town. And that the price is the same. So it's just a matter of finding out what flights make the most sense for you. And then we have here the price. The price, it depends if you're doing a single room, like on your own, or if you're having 2 people sharing per room. It'll be a little bit higher if you're doing a solo room, because there's a little supplement there. So if you're trying to save money, it makes sense to find a buddy to go with, and then that way you get the cheaper price. But also for a little more, you can get your own room. So you can look into that more carefully later.
And those double occupancies, Daniel, they're single beds, correct? 2 twins.
Right, exactly, single beds. And then, okay, so one thing about Kensington Tours that you must know is that we are a private safari, like we do private tours. So whoever decides to come on this trip, it'll just be the group of you that comes with Leslie. We're not bringing, 20, 30 people. You're not getting a huge bus. It'll be a small group of select people, participants that come on the trip, and everything is arranged to what you want to do. So if you decide that you want to stay a little longer after the tour is done, or come in a little earlier, if you want to do something else in Africa, we can do that, because everything is customized to each person. Okay. And then, okay, so let's just go briefly. Let's look at the day by day. So on day 1, you'll be flying into Cape Town. And as I said before, Delta and United have direct flights. Delta goes from Atlanta and United from Newark. And both of those flights get in the late afternoon, like honestly, early, about 5 or 6 p.m. So we don't typically schedule anything else on that day, because you're going to be pretty tired from like the long flight and the time difference and everything. So we'll greet you at the airport, and then we'll take you to your hotel. And for the hotel, Leslie was telling me that we're trying to keep the cost reasonable, not doing ultra luxury, but also we want to have touches or hints of luxury here and there to make sure that you're having the very best time. And in Cape Town, the hotel that I feel has that feeling is the Taj Hotel. It's a 5-star hotel. It's right in the city center, and you can see here. Well, let me actually show you some photos. Here you can see some photos of the hotel, and it's really, really nice. They include breakfast in the rate. The rooms that we would book are rooms that face the Table Mountain. Table Mountain is the iconic mountain in the heart of Cape Town. And now I do have people who say, well, Taj sounds kind of Indian. Like, we don't want to have Indian food every day. And I tell them, no, like, I mean, they do have they have a restaurant that does Indian food, but they also have other restaurants that do, international food. So it's a lovely hotel, great bar, great service, and this one would be considered a 5-star hotel. And you can see here on the Telegraph, they give them 9 out of 10, which is a really good rating. And so again, we would have, right now we're looking at doing a group of 7 to 8 people, but we can chat more about that later. Anyway, so day 1, you fly into Cape Town, we take you to your hotel. And then day 2 is where we start our tours. And we normally recommend doing a half-day tour of Cape Town on the first day, because you're still recovering from the long flight, jet lag, and all that. So we'll do a tour of the city. You'll also have a chance to go up the Table Mountain, which is this mountain here. And with the guide, the Kensington tour guide comes with you during all your trip. And then Around 1 p.m., we'll drop you off at the waterfront area, which is a lovely commercial area with restaurants and bars and shops and tourist attractions built on the edge of the water in Cape Town. Great views of Table Mountain on one side and the ocean on the other side, and so many little restaurants with patios, and you can see the seals, and there's just so many things to do there. And normally people, what they do that afternoon is they just spend an afternoon strolling around, looking at the different shops, taking photos of the nearby attractions. And so that's what we have planned for you. If you don't want to go to the waterfront and just want to go back to your hotel, that's also possible. And that's day 2. For day 3, we have a full day tour. So by then you should be fully adjusted to the time difference and all that. So we do a full day tour to see the Cape Peninsula. And it's honestly my favorite tour of Cape Town. Like, you go to Boulders Beach and get to see the penguins. There's a small colony of penguins nearby. You get to do that. You take the funicular up to the Cape Point. There's a lighthouse up there. The coastal drive, like it's won awards, some of the best coastal drives on the planet. So you get to see the little fishermen villages and just the ocean. November is also the end of the whale season, the whale migration season. So sometimes you get to see whales from the coast as well, just driving by, that you can see a whale over there. It's a great tour. And something that I didn't mention is that November, I think maybe I did, but November, the weather is fantastic in Cape Town. It's the start of their summer, because remember that their seasons are the other way around. So even though we're going into winter, over there, they're going into summer. Temperature wise, you can expect it to get around 85, around 80, on a hot day, it's about 85 degrees. So it'll just be like summer, very sunny, not many clouds. It's a fantastic time to go.
Daniel,
Yes.
what is the time difference between the East Coast and?
Right. 7 hours. 7 hours. I think it
Okay.
depends on like the summer time savings and all that, but it's typically 7 hours.
Okay.
So right now it's 1:20 our time Eastern Standard. They're probably 8 p.m. 8:20 p.m.
Very good.
Okay, and then we have lunch included here as well. Dinner, so breakfast is included every day while in Cape Town. Lunch is included on 2 days, and the other days there you can easily get something depending on the tour. And then for dinner, we don't include dinner on purpose because there's so many restaurants and so many options to choose from that we just we talk to clients about the different options available. And then we book dinner reservations for them. It depends. Like they have everything from Pizza Hut to like high-end South African cuisine restaurants. So it's a matter of picking, what makes the most sense and what you're looking to do. And depending on what we decide, Leslie, we might either book a restaurant for everyone, like for the group, or if people want some alone time, they can find something else to eat nearby.
Yeah, we usually, mix it up and do several group dinners, and then, people need a break, we'll take the night off and they can do what they want.
Yeah. Sometimes people need, sometimes you do need a break. And it's nice with our tours, the good thing is that it's very flexible. So if someone wants to be dropped off earlier, that's also possible. But normally our tours end around, I would say 5 p.m. So you have the evening to decide what to do for dinner and to hang out or go back to the hotel. But yeah, we can look closer into that once we have the numbers. And then on your 4th day in Cape Town, we want to do the Cape Winelands tour. It is, South African wines are known internationally, and about an hour away from Cape Town, the Cape Winelands are a very good productive area for wines. And it's a beautiful area, with like the rolling hills and the vineyards and the old estates. And even if you weren't a fan of wine, this area, the Cape Winelands, are very, very interesting. Lots of culture, lots of history. They have like the Dutch architecture with French influence. So it feels like a little corner of Europe. There's two towns, Stellenbosch and Franschhoek, that are just packed with boutiques and chocolatiers, and there's so many other things that you could do other than wine. So we like to spend a day there. And if you do want to do the full wine experience, we take you to 3 different wineries. And then we also do a quick visit to both towns, Stellenbosch and Franschhoek, and give you enough time to walk around and explore. We do lunch in one of the 2 towns. And then again, we come back to the hotel around 5 or 6. And that would be the end of your time in Cape Town. And then after that, we're going to head to the airport on day 5, and you're going to do your 2-hour flight to Namibia. Now, I should have, we'll do a recap later, but the great thing about both of these countries is that if you have an American passport or Canadian, you don't need a visa or anything special to enter both countries. So it's very easy to travel to both Namibia and South Africa. No funny vaccinations, nothing really is mandatory. The only thing to consider is that Namibia does have a very small risk of malaria, which is transmitted by a mosquito bite. And so we do recommend bringing antimalarials, but that's pretty much it. Like, you don't have to apply for visas in advance. You don't have to get the yellow fever vaccination. It's very, very easy and convenient. Okay, going back to the trip. So day 5, you fly to Namibia, and then we'll receive you at the airport and take you to your hotel. That day, the flight will get in around 3 p.m. and you'll be at your hotel at 4 p.m. So we're not going to schedule anything for that day because it is a travel day. But this hotel that we picked, the Weinberg, it's a lovely boutique hotel. They have 2 restaurants attached to the property. They have a spa, they have a pool. The capital city of Namibia, which is where this hotel is it's pronounced Windhoek, even though there's a W there, it's Windhoek. And it's one of the most boring cities on the planet, maybe. So we only recommend the 1 night there and then the next day out because the beauty of Namibia is in the countryside. So this is more of a functional overnight just to get you to the country, get you to your hotel. And then the next day we leave very early, and you're going to hop into our safari vehicles. And I have a photo here that I want to show you. This is what our safari vehicles in Namibia look like. So you can see they're Toyota Land Cruisers that have been customized with a pop-open roof. They have big windows to the sides, and they have 7 seats, including the driver. So for that reason, we want to try to keep it to seven people. But if we have a lot of demand and it seems like more people want to sign up, then we might do 2 different vehicles. But yes, this is the vehicles that we use. They come equipped with air conditioning. They have a charging point so that you can charge your devices while you're in the vehicle. We have a fridge with cool drinks. Amazing 4x4 suspension, which is funny, but really is something that you need to keep in mind when you're traveling on like the back roads in Africa, because there's lots of, it's a bumpy ride. So a good suspension is needed, and we do brag about it. And yeah, but let me show you here. This is actually, okay, here you go. This is the vehicle again with one of our favorite guides. His name is Franco. And this is like the Sossusvlei area. It's a desert area. And I will show you a photo of a dune here. So the salt pan, this is me actually with my wife back in 2020. The dead flay trees are petrified. They have been standing there for 700 years. It's a really beautiful country in terms of landscape, scenery, the wilderness experience. You're away from everything in Namibia. It's one of the least densely populated countries on the planet. So coming from Cape Town, it's going to be a little bit of a shock because Cape Town, it's busy, it's, beautiful city, lots of infrastructure. And then all of a sudden you're in the middle of nowhere. And that is part of the experience that we want to give you, that contrast. Beautiful country, Namibia. And then, yeah, so going back to our vehicles, this is what you'll be traveling around. Oh, here you go. And on our first full day in Namibia, we're going to drive down to the Sossusvlei area. Sossusvlei is a World Heritage Site and the top tourist attraction in Namibia. It's known for its freestanding dunes, some of the highest sand dunes on the planet. And what makes them very special is their color. Like they have a red, almost apricot color that, and the color shifts depending on the time of the day. So in the morning, in the middle of the day, in the late evening, the colors change from like red to orange to pink. And it's a really, really fascinating place to be in. And while we're in Sossusvlei, we're going to, we have this hotel, Hudia, is the one that we've picked. It's a lovely, and these are the chalets that you'll be staying at. And I wanted to show you this because once you're on safari in Africa, you will not be staying in regular hotels like the way that we know them here, you know, with your Marriott's and your Ritz with like, it's a building with 200 rooms. They don't do that on safari because part of the experience is to make sure that you're getting the wilderness feel. So most of the safari camps have only a handful of rooms and they're kind of scattered around the property. And so, but they're fully furnished, you know, they're beautiful. They have a thatched roof, air conditioning inside. They have their own little patio. Honestly, well, this is to give you an idea, like this is the main lodge where you have your meals. And then these are the rooms that are scattered around the property. And it just gives you a very different feel, like a remote wilderness experience. And then sometimes in the evening, they have like a little fire pit and you can have some drinks with like just watching the sunset, and they'll organize also meals outdoors under the stars. Oh, but you can see the rooms are perfectly fine. Like they're actually really nice considering that you're in the middle of nowhere. They do have mosquito nets, although there are very few mosquitoes in Namibia, but they still use the mosquito nets just in case. And they're fully furnished. Private bathroom. So this isn't like camping at all, right? It's what they would call glamping. It's really, really nice. No camping. Oh yeah, and so while you're in Namibia, all your meals are included, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, except for lunch and dinner on day one when you're in Windhoek. But we can arrange that at the hotel. But once you leave the capital city and you start going to Sossusvlei on the safari, all your meals are included because there are no restaurants to choose from, right? Like it's not like you're going to stop in the middle of nowhere and then pay for your lunch. Like we have to bring your lunch from the previous hotel, and then dinner is only at the property where you're staying at. So all your meals will be covered. And that's your first. Yes.
While you're talking about meals, I know we have several that have traveled with us already that are vegetarian, gluten-free, some are dairy-free. Can all those accommodations be made?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the one place in Africa where I don't get nervous with requests like that because I know we can cater to them. I know the properties and the guides will be very careful with gluten-free, vegans, vegetarian, all of that is good. There are other places in Africa where if we were looking at, I'd be a little nervous because I'm not too sure if they even know what, you know, celiac disease is. I don't think they do. But here in Southern Africa, really good infrastructure, so we can cater to all dietary requirements.
Awesome.
Okay. And then on day 2 in Sossusvlei is the day when we're going to go see these dunes and go to the salt pans. And it's more not so much about the wildlife in Sossusvlei, although you will see some antelopes and some small animals, but it's just to get the feel of the dunes and the very different landscape, beautiful photos. It's more about that, about the wilderness. And I always explain it like you feel like you're in a different planet, like you're walking in Mars. It just feels so different to Earth, to planet Earth, and to what we've seen up here. Very, very photogenic. So we'll do a full day there. And then the next day, day 8, we are going to meet up with the guide again, and we'll have an early transfer to the coastal area of Namibia. And I think this is nice after coming from the desert, after coming from the dunes and like it's dry and the sand. It's nice to get a breather from the desert. And on the coastal area, very beautiful as well. And you get to see flamingos on the coast. You could swim even if you wanted to. You could sunbathe. And this place is called Swakopmund, which is what you see here. Swakopmund is the name of the town. Swakopmund also has lots of German heritage because they were a German colony once. So you can see the little German heritage buildings, and walk around the city center and do some shopping if you want to. And for the one night that we have in Swakopmund, we're doing the Delight Hotel. We're staying at the Delight Hotel, which is a little more basic, but in Namibia, they really don't have they don't really have big luxury hotels. This one is a boutique hotel that we quite like, and it gets the job done. You're just going to be there for one night. This is what the inside looks like. It's like a little courtyard, and the rooms are built around the courtyard. They have like a marine theme going on with the colors. You see in the rooms, you can see flamingo, like the flamingo painting and all that. It's a really lovely property. I would say it's 4 stars, but just there for one night. And then, on that evening in Swakopmund, we typically recommend a seafood dinner at one of the restaurants in town, which overlooks the ocean. They do have other options other than seafood. If you don't like seafood, they have also meat, like meat cuts, and they do all other food as well. They cater to vegetarian and everything. We can pick the restaurant later, but we like that restaurant for that one night. And then day 9, we are going to get back into the vehicle and then again head out to the wilderness. And this time we're going to Etosha. And Etosha National Park is one of the top wildlife safari parks in all of Africa. If you go onto the internet and look for the best wildlife areas, Etosha will always be there. And you come to Etosha to see this. See the lions, giraffes, rhinos. You're going to get to see the animals in their natural habitat without cages, without chains or anything. It's just the animals, how they live in the wild. And we do safari drives where you go in the vehicle just looking for the animals. You get your good photos. If you're a little lucky, you'll be able to get very close to them. Also, your lunch will be had inside the park, so that you spend the whole day there looking for the animals. And for the camp, this is a lovely new camp that opened back in, I think, 2019, and it's called Etosha Oberland. As you can see, they're in the middle of nowhere, but they also have a pool because it does get hot in Namibia. So, you need that. And something really, really special about this property is that you can be in the pool. So this is the main camp area where the restaurant and the bar are. You can be in the pool, and the rhinos come up to like this edge here. So sometimes you're in the pool and you get to see the rhinos right there in front of you. It's a very special place. It's amazing. Like the best rhino sightings that I've ever had, Leslie, are at this property. Just beautiful. And these are what the rooms are really big. Like this is one room here. And they have like the main sleeping area, and then they have a little lounging area, and then the bathroom in this place over here. And again, no camping, right? This isn't camping. This is staying in the bush with luxury. And yeah, so we have 2 nights at Etosha. So you'll be doing your drives. You'll wake up in the morning, go on your safari drive, come back to the camp for lunch, or we might decide to stay out in the park and have a picnic lunch there instead. And then you'll come back to the camp before sunset. And this is a perfect example of what you'll see in Etosha. This photo here with like the giraffe and the zebra and the antelopes all around the water hole. This is what you'll see. And again, it's so nice to see them in their natural habitat, right? It's not a zoo. This is what actually happens in nature. All right, and then day 11 is the last full day in Namibia. And you're going to meet up with the guide and then drive all the way to the capital city. So you're returning, remember, it's a loop. So you'll be returning back to Windhoek. And it is a full day drive because we make a stop at Okanjima, Africat, which is a great wildlife sanctuary that we work with, and that we are very careful with the wildlife sanctuaries and all those places where you can see animals up close. We're very careful with who we work with. And this is one of the places that we absolutely love because they have a really great research rehabilitation program. And they're known for their resident leopards and cheetah. So if you didn't see any of those while you were in Etosha, you can stop here and you can see them very up close. And they're not in enclosures, they're not chained or anything, but because it is a research center, a couple of the leopards have like a collar that tracks them because they are being studied. And so what we do there is we do a leopard drive where one of the guides who works at Okonjima goes out with a device and tracks the leopard. And so you can get very close to the leopard. And leopards are one of the most elusive animals in Africa. So it's very hard to see them. And this would be a great place to see them because it's almost guaranteed that you will. And then we go back to Windhoek, we spend the night there. And the next day, day 12, is when you'll be going home. And as I mentioned, you can go back to Johannesburg or you can go back to Cape Town and then from there fly home on the same day. So you don't even have to overnight if you don't want to, but if you wanted to add more time in Africa, check out Johannesburg, check out Cape Town a little more, you can, but typically people fly out that day and go home. Now, Windhoek does have an international airport. So if you wanted to fly out of Windhoek to go home, you can, but it's going to be with weird airlines like Ethiopian Airlines that goes through Addis Ababa. I think Lufthansa that goes through Frankfurt might go as well. So there are options, but typically people fly to Johannesburg or Cape Town. And that is the end of it. And then here at the bottom, you'll be able to read a little more about each hotel that we picked and look at the photos. And then the fine print in case you decide to book, the fine print for booking. Should I talk about the fine print, like the booking conditions, Leslie?
Yes.
Okay, so in order for us to secure your spot, we require a 30% deposit, and that deposit goes to what Kensington actually does is we take the deposit and then we deposit with the properties to make sure that they have a space for you, because remember, the camps are small, so they do book up far in advance. And as you saw, like Huia, the one in Sossusvlei, I think they have 12 rooms or something like that. So they actually ask for a deposit in order to block a room for you. So we take your deposit, we use that to block the room, and then the rest of your payment is due 90 days before the trip starts. So 3 months before you go, we expect that you go in and you make your payment, paid in full, and that's pretty much the booking conditions. So just to recap, 30% deposit to secure your space, and then the rest is due 90 days before the trip starts. And because we are looking at doing this in November 2025, you have plenty of time to make your final payment. If you want to wait until the 90-day mark and pay all the balance until then, that's fine. We do have people who go in once a month and make a little deposit, like make additional payments, which we can.
And we can set those up for you. Like I said, it's a big initial deposit, but the rest you can pay between now and the 90 days, which gives you well over a year.
Exactly, Leslie. And then in terms of canceling, if you change your mind and decide not to go, we would obviously be heartbroken, but we understand that life gets in the way. As long as you cancel outside of the 90 days, so before that deadline for the final payment, then we can cancel. Kensington charges a non-refundable fee, which is $350 per person. So that would come off your deposit. And then also we would have to see if the properties have any non-refundable deposits, because sometimes they do ask for a small portion that's non-refundable. Again, it's because the camps are so small that they want to make sure that you're committing to it. But we wouldn't charge any other penalties if you cancel outside of the 90 days. Now, once we're within the 90 days, you should have made your full payment, right, at day 90. If we're within the 3 months before the trip starts and you decide not to go, then there are cancellation fees that are a little higher depending on how far out you cancel. Typically, 90 to 60 days before the trip starts, it's 30%. 60 to 30 days before the trip starts, it's 50%. And then 1 month before the trip starts, it's non-refundable. All right. And then for travel requirements, we, again, as I said before, no visas, no funny vaccinations. The only consideration is malaria, because there are Etosha, mostly Etosha, where the safari happens. There's a risk of malaria there, so you should look into bringing antimalarials. And the other thing is that you need to have at least I would say 4 blank pages in your passports for the stamps, because they do stamp and they do put a sticker in the passport in Namibia, even though it's not a visa, and it does take up a whole page. So you have to have at least 4 blank pages, otherwise they start rolling their eyes at you and it might give you a hard time. And that's pretty much it from me. Leslie, what do you think? What other things should we chat about?
Number one, the hotels are absolutely amazing. And I have seen some of these properties before when, we've done webinars and things. And I think they're perfect for what we're doing. The one question I had is, what is the currency and what is the current exchange rate?
Oh, good Lord, that's a really difficult question. I know that the currency is so in South Africa, so in Cape Town, it's the South African rand. And you can use the rand, like many clients tell me, Daniel, should I get rand before going to Africa? And I tell them not to. I tell them to bring USD, like bring dollars, and because you can use that for most of your purchases. Once you're in Cape Town, though, if you want to withdraw money from an ATM and get rand, just to like look at the rand, and maybe you're collecting bills and you want to just like feel like a local, that's also fine, but always withdraw from an ATM, I would say. And you can use that rand in Namibia as well. So Namibia has a different currency, which is the Namibian dollar, but it's tied to the South African rand. So you can use it without a problem in Namibia as well. So I would say have a little bit of dollars and a little bit of rand.
Okay, so in Namibia, is there much need for money, or credit cards work for everything?
Credit cards work. Actually, it's funny, but they do. Credit cards work. You would only really need money for, well, tipping. Tipping isn't included, and we encourage people to tip if they feel that the guide has earned it. So if you want to tip someone, you can, but you can tip with rand or dollars. It doesn't really matter. And then also for the Namibia portion, all your meals are included, but drinks like sodas or alcoholic drinks are extra. We have water in the vehicle, but any other drinks, you would have to pay for it directly. And you can also pay with cash or dollars or a credit card.
Okay, perfect.
All right. And then in Cape Town, that's where I foresee that you would be spending more money, because remember, lunch is only included on 2 days. Dinner isn't included any of the 4 nights. So you would need a little more money for the Cape Town portion, but that's where they do a lot of credit cards. So you could probably get around with a credit card as well.
Okay. And as far as tipping, what is the criteria, in Cape Town and Namibia? Is it different than the US or?
It's different, yes. I would say that in Cape Town, it's similar. It's more similar to the US. You can tip like the housekeeper if you want to leave her $1. You can tip the bellboy if they helped you with your bag. At the restaurants, you can tip, well, actually, you would tip 10% at the restaurant, 10 to 15. Nowadays over here in North America, I see that they're tipping 20%, 18, 20%. But over there, they're not crazy yet. So you can tip 10%, 15 if it was really, really good at for meals. But when you're in Namibia, because everything is almost everything is included, you only tip the guide, the Kensington Tours guide, and then you would tip as well the camp staff. But you don't tip individually. Like you don't give your tip to the housekeeper, to the waiter who gave you your dinner. What you do is that at the end of your time at the hotel, when you check out, you leave a communal tip. for everyone. And then they split it amongst all the staff. And I would say budget, I think $15 per person for tips per day would be okay, because for the guide, you can tip him $10 per person per day, and then $5 goes to the camp staff. So $15 per person per day is
Okay,
just
perfect.
very, 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 broad. Like, it's without thinking about it too much, I would say $15 per person per day.
Okay.
All right. And then
Anybody else have any questions?
I wanted to show you just briefly a little bit more about Namibia. I have this presentation is quite old. It's from 2020, but it should give you a good feel what Namibia is like. And again, I just wanted to showcase like the landscapes, right? It's out of this, out of this world. This is a normal meal that you would have in Namibia. You're on the edge of the deck overlooking the desert with the sunset. The food is really, really good in Southern Africa. This is Franco, one of our favorite guides. And they're so knowledgeable. Like, they can talk to you about things that you would never even think about, like animals and the stars and the rocks and the history of his country. They're so passionate about what they do. I've always said that, honestly, royalty could go on our tours in Namibia and they would be fascinated. Like, they are the top. Again, the vehicles that we use, these are some, again, landscapes that you can see in Namibia. And this actually brings me to a very good point. In terms of mobility, you don't need to be like a hiker. You don't need to be able to run up mountains or anything like that. There is a little bit of walking on sand. Like here, this photo is a really good one. You have to walk on this sand to get to the flat salt pan. And so you just have to be comfortable on your feet and walking a little bit. Some people decide to climb on the dunes, which I tried and gave up halfway because it was really exhausting and it was hot. But some people do that. But you don't have to be like an athlete to go to Namibia. I would say, though, you have to be comfortable with sand. I don't want to use the word roughing it a little bit, but just you have to be a little adventurous to enjoy Africa overall. And then again, these are like the colors at sunset, right? You can see how the colors change. The view from the room, my footsteps on the sand in Sossusvlei. This is the Delight Hotel in Swakopmund, the one that has the marine theme. And the dinner at the restaurant that I was mentioning, the name is the Tug Restaurant, and they overlook the ocean and the pier. They say that they have some of the best oysters, and I tried some. I'm not really a big fan of oysters, but I mean, I guess they were good. I don't know, but they had other really good food there as well. And these are just like the views that you're gonna get. They're just out of this planet. The Skeleton Coast, the seals. It's just, again, the dunes and these different colors, right? Because the landscape, it's very much like this, but the landscape also changes every few miles. It just changes to something very different. So it's a really fascinating country. This is the safari area with the giraffes and the elephants. And then the bathrooms are they're tented, but again, not camping. They're fully furnished. Rhinos. And then there are some ethnic groups up there. Depending on the time of the year, they might be around, and you can make a stop to see them. Again, like the sunset, the views, the boulders. This is what makes Namibia so special. So it would be really nice to combine Cape Town and Namibia. Great safari, in my opinion. Anything else?
Any questions, ladies?
Seems like we're good. Well, Leslie, again, we have tons of time between now and then. Don't wait too long, because these places do book up. And again, Namibia, like, they have one of the smallest populations in the world. So they have like 2 or 3 hotels available in each place. And we do recommend booking out as far as possible, to avoid, disappointment. But we still have enough time. So if you have any questions, if you are interested in hearing more, feel free to reach out to Leslie. And then Leslie, you and I can coordinate and we can help them out.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And I'm going to share this with the rest of the group after we're finished here, so that they can, catch it if they weren't able to attend. So
Thank you.
thank you so much. And I look forward to talking to you soon, Daniel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye, ladies. Take care.